Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm Jeanna.
And I'm Ivo.
Yo, happy Friday, Ivo.
Happy Friday, Jeanna.
The audience is going to be receiving this episode a little bit later than we usually put out.
Just a little bit.
But it's still fucking Friday.
Yeah, shit happens. Life.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Really. So let's cheers because you didn't, as rude as Ivo always is, in true fashion, didn't even cheers.
Yo, my palate has no respect. I'm sorry.
No, you have no respect.
No, I can't. It's not me.
Your palate?
It's not me. No, I have no control over my palate.
Okay.
You know that.
Sure.
You know that.
Sure. I'm drinking wine, by the way. Years ago, I had a friend introduce me to this wine that comes out seasonal, which is called Beaujolais, and I picked me up a bottle of it.
All right. Yeah.
I don't want to swallow into the mic.
I heard we have some serious microphones.
Yeah. So let's get into our topic for tonight.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be an interesting one because this topic actually spawned off of a conversation that you and I had that I think that's usually how it happens.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
The minute that we started talking about this, I was like, oh man, I think we should make an episode out of this. So if anybody's not familiar with Steve Harvey, you're about to be. So this episode is called Act Like a Gentleman, Think Like a Woman. It's a little spin on Steve Harvey's book, which is Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. And there were also 2 movies that came out. So the other day, Ivo comes upstairs and he brings...
Wait.
Yeah.
Maybe, don't you think you should give a little context of what the book's about?
I will in a second.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm just jumping ahead.
This is
the
second time rude.
I felt like that'd be a perfect moment to do so.
Okay, so the other day, Ivo came upstairs to our bedroom and he brought me something. Do I remember exactly what it was? No, it's not really important to the story. I thought it was really kind of him to do it. And I was like, thank you so much. And he then turned to me and said, it's the least I can do because a man should always be doing the 3 Ps. And I was like, what is this? What is this 3 Ps thing? And he was like, well, take a guess. So I was like, okay, a man should always be giving his woman the 3 Ps.
Penis, penis, and penis. No, that's not it.
And I don't remember exactly what I said except for one of them, and I said pound cake because
you took you took a good guess. I mean, it was a random stab, but
yeah,
not even close.
I had no clue what these 3 Ps were, so I thought to myself, where the hell did you hear this from? Because I've actually never heard you say this before. And then Ivo said to me, I was watching a Steve Harvey clip. Come to find out that this little clip talked about the 3 Ps, and then Ivo went a little bit into it and found out that it's a portion of his book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. So why don't you tell us a little bit what the book is about?
So the book is basically kind of like a roadmap or have you not kind of like a roadmap to the way men think, but it's written for women. So it's to help women understand the way men operate, and it's written by Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey has a lot of women on his show, and the audience asking him advice on their relationships, and so it's kind of a thing of his. And in his book, he talks about the 3 Ps, and those Ps are protect, provide, and profess. And
can I just say really quick? For a long time, I was semi-bothered by Steve Harvey giving love advice, considering that he had some failed marriages, and I think he's on his 3rd marriage. And then I looked into him, then I realized that I love this man. But go ahead, continue.
I mean, I think he's got the experience. So,
correct.
I mean, just because he's had some failed marriages doesn't mean that he doesn't know the roadmap to a successful marriage.
Correct. And I would also say that Steve Harvey is a wonderful father and stepfather.
Yeah, he's a great man.
Doesn't even a lot of people don't even know that Laura Harvey is I would consider his most famous child is not his biological child, but you would never know that.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. So these 3 Ps.
So
protect, provide, and profess.
Yes. So I brought something up to you, and you were really grateful for that act. A little bit more so than I would normally expect. You seem really, really grateful at that moment. And so I felt in that moment was, that I should tell you that, that one of the 3 P's, which is provide, is something that I, as a husband, I should regularly be doing. And so you thought it was interesting.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, these are things that men regularly should be doing. And then I think you, if I'm not mistaken, said that, yeah, these are like some of like the qualities, like the top qualities a man should
it's part of a man's purpose.
Oh, okay.
Not to say that's all a man's purpose should be, but it is a part of a lot of men's purpose. And these things are important because a lot of men, not all, are conditioned this way. They're conditioned to provide, to protect, not so much profess, because a lot of men grow up in homes that are not a lot of intimacy that happens between the parent and the man. Is the man's taught not to show his emotions, not to cry, not to be soft, to be hard. And so, professing is something that I felt that in those 3 P's, it does exist.
But on the lower scale?
But on the lower scale, yeah. So I, for one, am very in tune with my emotions. So professing for me was something that I identified in the 3 P's. So in that moment, you were like, you found that interesting. And you didn't agree with it.
Okay, so this is why I was like, we need to have a conversation about this. When Ivo said to me that he felt like those were like the ideal top qualities that a man should possess when it comes to what he should be giving to a woman, quality-wise, I turned around and I said to you, what if the woman doesn't value those things?
Which was a great question.
Yeah. I said because in that regard, Steve Harvey is writing a book for women to understand men and giving them the understanding of like what a man's potential top 3 P's are. But I thought about it like, shouldn't there be a book where men are being told what women think and what they would like their 3 P's to be?
Yeah.
Because then men potentially are going to go around with this idea of if I'm a provider, if I protect and I profess, then I should be good. And the reason why I said to you, what if they don't value that, is because when you and I first started dating, none of those 3 qualities were something that I was looking for in a man.
Right. Well, yes, there was one.
Yes.
There was one.
So I'm going to say this. Those were not my top qualities. I was not looking for Ivo to be my protector. I was not looking for Ivo to be my provider. I was not necessarily looking for Ivo to, like, it's not my top quality. I wasn't looking for you to profess, but out of the 3, I would think that one is probably higher than the other 2. And that's why I found it so interesting that it got me thinking that I think that there's a lot of men who still have this mentality that if they're a provider, if they protect a woman, and I don't know so much about the profess, that they would consider themselves a high value man.
Well, let's talk a bit about why it was that you weren't looking for these things.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important.
Yeah. So now that I've had some time to give myself time to break down who I am as a person, because that's what you do when you're in your 40s. Because when you're in your 20s, you're trying to figure out life. When you're in your 30s, you have just started to scratch the surface, and then you do a lot of work during that time to build your life. And then in the 40s, you're like, shit, I need to reflect upon my life.
Every decade of your life, you spend a decade reflecting on the past decade of your life, pretty much, and how to make the current one better.
Yeah. So I would say the last, I don't know, I think I've said this many times, like last 5 to 7 years, I've really done a deep dive on who I am as a person and what makes me happy in life. But one thing I can tell you that holds true is that when I first saw Ivo and thought about dating him long term, one of the qualities that I wanted in him was to be compassionate, aka loving. And I know that that has a lot to do with my childhood and my childhood traumas, because I was neglected as a child. I was not loved the way that I needed and wanted to be loved as a child. So if I was going to be with someone for the rest of my life, I wanted them to love me like unconditionally. And when I tell you, Ivo is a fucking king at that shit.
Well, lucky for me, at that time, that was my number one asset.
Yeah.
Because your boy ain't has shit else to offer.
Yeah. So, okay. So
I was broke.
So
at that time.
So the fact that you say that, I find that kind of interesting, because I said to you, if those three qualities, which are protect, provide, and profess, were something that I would have considered to be my top qualities when looking for a man, I would have not dated you.
Potentially not. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Who's to really say what would have happened? But at that point in time, I did not have those things to offer.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then my second top quality is I wanted someone to be a good listener, because I talk a lot.
And that I am.
And Ivo is excellent at that. And then the third is kind of like, I'm going to use one word to describe it, but it has a more broad definition. But I wanted the person to be fun. I wanted to be able to go out and have a good time with my partner and laugh and, you know, share experiences together, and it be kind of like no holds bars.
Yeah,
you know,
fortunately we clicked on that note.
Yeah, so he hit the three on the head. And when I had to sit down and think about what I considered the top qualities in a man, I said to myself, are they different now than when they were back, 20 years ago when we first started dating? Because, I've changed a lot. And when I really, really thought about it, Ivo, they are still the same for me. And that's why I was so intrigued by these three P's, especially the protect and provide part, because I did not look at you to be a provider. I looked at you like we can grow and provide a life for our family together. I was never looking at you to be the sole provider.
Right. Because
when we say provider, come on, we're being real. We're when it comes to a man, we're thinking about financial. Yeah,
I mean, according to the book, to Steve Harvey's book, it is primarily based on providing financially for a woman or for your significant other
and your family.
And your family, yes. I feel like that there's a lot more to being a provider, but that's just my personal opinion. So just if we're sticking to the book, it's definitely the financial thing. I just wanted to point out that when we got together, you were financially independent.
Yeah.
And you were taking care of yourself and you were taking care of your family. Yeah. So that's mainly why I brought it up. I brought up the question as why weren't you looking for those things in our relationship? It's because you already had them.
And that is why when you said what you said to me, it immediately, when you said that, a man's supposed to, these should be his top qualities, it immediately sparked that in me. Because back then and now, I would say that I look for Ivo to be more of a provider now because of the way that our household functions. Mm-hmm. But I never looked at you to be the sole provider. So I needed to know more. So I reached out to Instagram and I put the question out to our audience. And I said, I asked ladies, what are your top 3 qualities that you want or need from a man when you are looking to be in a relationship? And there was a common theme from all the women that answered. Because not only did I reach out to the women on social media, I also reached out to my girl groups. And I would say that I have 3 really good girl groups that have 6 girls in each one. So I collected all of their answers, and the common theme was women are looking for men to be loyal. That was the biggest one. I literally got that. I got that one from every single woman. And these are women that are in relationships, some of them not in relationships, some of them just dating. So they wanted the men to be loyal. They wanted the men to be supportive, and they wanted the men to be respectful. There was one that was really close to the respectful, but the respectful trumped it by a couple of answers. And the other one was that they want men to be emotionally intelligent. So once I got this feedback, I knew that the way that I was thinking wasn't so far off as to how other women are thinking about what it is that they're looking for in a man. Not one of my friends, not one of these women answered, I'm looking for a man to be a provider.
And I understand that. And in today's economy,
Or protect or profess.
in today's economy, in today's society, women have become much more independent than they were a long time ago. That being said, Steve Harvey's book, it brings up a very valid point that in this dynamic that we have now, where women are they don't need a man to be a provider and a protector because they've gone out and they've sought these things out for themselves. That it's important for a relationship that a woman allow that space for a man to be that.
To be what?
To be a protector and a provider. And I identify with this because that was the dynamic in our relationship. You know, although when we started, I was not the provider and I was not the protector. In time, as I started to move towards those things, I feel like that you identified those things in me, and you allowed them. You created space so that those qualities can shine, and so it gave me a feeling of purpose. It gave me a feeling of accomplishment, of being a man in a relationship. Even though you didn't need these things, you allowed me to provide them. And I think that is a miss for a lot of women.
Can I just say, and I agree with you, can I just say that, first let me ask you this. Do you know why I allowed for that to happen?
Because we've never really had this conversation.
I know. So as you were saying it, I'm sitting here and I'm smiling because I allowed for you to step into that I allow for you to step into that manhood, if that's what you want to call it, you know, of being the provider and the protector, because I knew that it would make you happy. I could tell that when you did things in those three elements, when you provided, when you protected, when you profess, I could tell how deeply it was affecting you and your happiness.
Oh, I was living.
Yes. So I wanted that for you. And I think that sometimes, and I can be wrong, but this is coming from a woman that was very independent, was doing well financially, lived on her own, was taking care of her children on her own, and really had like a really good self-esteem. I recognize that you as a man, there were things that you wanted to do for me as a woman, and there were things that you wanted to do with our family that like increased your overall happiness. And I was willing to put like my ego aside and say, this is actually more important for our overall happiness as a family. I think sometimes that women will look at that and think, well, I don't need him. Yeah, that's the obvious. But he needs it. So if your partner needs it, and if we're trying to be in a long-term relationship, then your partner's needs should come into play. So I put your needs into perspective for myself. And I think sometimes as a woman, we're so conditioned to be like, well, I don't need a man for those things. And I think this is the obvious. But if your man needs it, let him do these things, and that will never diminish what it is that you can do as a woman.
Yeah, I feel like the equal to this is when a man should always make his girlfriend, and I'm going to say girlfriend in this case, because I feel like this is important to women and the female species, is to be made for their spouse or their boyfriend, to make them feel like they're beautiful, or to make them feel good,
Yeah.
to do acts that make them feel like they're desired, right? These things are important of a woman. It's almost like a woman's purpose, where she doesn't feel right if she doesn't feel like she's being desired
By her partner.
by her partner. Yes. And so I feel like that the 3 P's for a man, if a man is not feeling like he's acting these things out and living them, he does not feel complete. Now, in the beginning of our relationship, even though I wasn't able to provide these things, I still found ways to be able to be a provider, right?
Yes,
And I think it's important to
that
talk
you
about
did.
this, because needless to say, there are people out there that are in relationships where the woman in the relationship is the actual financial provider.
She's the breadwinner.
She's the breadwinner. And I would just like to point out that there is a space for men to move about where they can still be providers and protectors and professors without having to be the financial provider. And what I mean by this is that there's things around the house that typically a woman would call on a man for. Sharpen your tools with those things. Be handy. Be very handy. Know how to fix things in an instant. Get in where you fit in, right? Everything that typically a woman might call a man for and pay that man to do things for, that's kind of where you want to elevate your strengths are, because you're providing something that, in that case, is important to that woman. In the same sense, if you have kids, being there for your kids and teaching them, if they're boys, how men should act, respectful men, raising them to be gentlemen and to be kind to women, I think is a duty as a man, and that's very important in the house. And in the same sense, if you have a daughter, showing your daughter how a man should act, how a man should treat her, and what things she should expect from a man and not accept from a man. And I think that those things are very important, and they don't exist without a man being at home. And in a lot of cases, for the young boys and the young girls, when you have a man who's out working to be a provider, that portion of parenting is lacking at home. So if you're in a position where you're not the financial provider, don't feel like that this book has got you being less of a man, because there's plenty things to do at home that a man needs to do. And men can get caught up in the whole work thing and then find themselves, a lot of men talk about this, where they're so fucking committed to their work that they end up not being a family man or a husband. So,
Yeah.
Don't shoot yourself in the foot, because that's what I did in that moment in the beginning of our relationship where you were the breadwinner, and I respected that.
Yeah.
I looked at opportunities and how I can become valuable at home as a man, so that when you came home, you felt like you had a man at home.
Yeah, that definitely was something that you put to work, no problem.
So, but
I think it's interesting that you say that a lot of the times men will get hyper focused on their careers or their jobs, and then they'll be lacking at home.
Yeah.
So things that are very important for a father, a husband, a boyfriend to be doing with their spouse or their children is suffering somewhat. I think that's why a lot of the women that responded to my question of what are the qualities that you want in a man, one of the biggest ones was support. They're looking for support from their husband or their boyfriend or their significant other when it comes to an array of stuff. Because there are a lot of women, and I hear this all the fucking time, that are in a relationship, but they are single parents. And what I mean when I say that is that there are women in, a relationship with a man or another woman or whatever it is, and one of them is carrying the load of doing these things that you're saying a man should be doing, which is like, showing your boys how to be young men, teaching your daughter how to, know what a good quality man is. it even goes deeper, just like a man being involved in the everyday workings of your household, like knowing your child's school schedule, you know, knowing things that your kid likes to wear, to eat, whatever. Or when your spouse is needing you to pick up around the house, or, you know, like these things that men, they're like, well, I go to work and I'm the fucking provider, so when I come home, if there's dishes in the sink, oh well.
Yeah, usually that, especially in young girls, usually that ends up creating a void that when they get older they seek to fill in other men. And so it is very important from a man's standpoint that when your daughter's a young girl, that she never feels like she's lacking a father or a friend in her life.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of the women that I gave me the feedback, a lot of them, you know, it goes hand in hand with like respect. They don't want to feel taken for granted. They don't want to feel disrespected by their partner. And a lot of the times I think, and I don't fault men to an extent. If society is telling you that you should be a provider, you should be a protector, and you should be a professor, and you're doing these things and you're trying to do them to the best of your ability, but then you're ignoring the other things that come with being in a relationship, I somewhat don't fault men. But when you think that that's all you have to do, because humans are very complex, if you think that's all you have to do, and then the other things are lacking in your relationship, then your partner's not going to feel that like they're being respected. And that's going to open a whole other fucking can of worms. So marriage.com, I went on to, it had the most recent article from some, you know, marriage therapist. And they listed some of the top qualities that women in this day and age, the neo woman, is looking for in a man. And I'm going to list them for you, because when I read them, of course, none of them really were like what it is that, you know, the qualities.
Want to hear it? Here we go.
Here we go. The number one is women are looking for men to be confident. And let's not confuse that with being fucking an egotistical piece of shit.
Cocky motherfuckers.
Yeah. Confidence, you know, to like understand where you fit in the world. And sometimes if you don't, maybe making the way for yourself. Okay. To be trustworthy, aka loyal. To have integrity. To have compassion, which I said, emotional availability and or emotional intelligence. To be respectful, to have a sense of humor, and to be mature. Women nowadays are like, yo, I need for you I need for you to have fixed your soul.
Yeah, for real.
Before you come.
Don't bring that broken shit over here.
In my face, sir. Because I'm making the bread. I got a roof over my head. I'm going to fucking MMA classes. I know how to protect myself. You know, if not, I got my homegirls. And I'm teaching myself self-love. So I don't necessarily need you to profess to me, right? Women are looking for men to give them things that I think complements them. Not things that they need them to fill anymore. Where a long time ago, women couldn't be the provider. Women weren't looked at to be the protector. You know, women were looking for their men to tell them they were beautiful and, you know, profess all these type of things. Where I think women nowadays, that's not at the top of our list.
Yeah, I just want to point out something super important about these 3 Ps.
Sure.
And that is the provide part. I just want to kind of go back to this for a second, because I feel like we need to put a little bit of light on how men speaking for myself, will get so hyper focused on being a provider that they feel that as long as they're financially bringing in the bread, that they don't have to do a lot of other things.
And why you do that? I'm just gonna step to the side for 1 second.
Okay.
But go ahead, continue.
And I just want to add to that can be a slippery slope, and you can definitely shoot yourself in the foot. What I ended up doing is that once I started to, well, once I became self-employed and I started being able to hustle and create different streams of revenue, it didn't, I don't want to say it didn't take long, but before we knew it, I was making some pretty good money. So much to the point where it surpassed Jeanna's income, and I then kind of became the provider, right? And so, oh man, that felt great. And I know a lot of men can identify with that. You know, like being able to be successful in what you're doing and make money and be good and provide for your family, it's an amazing feeling. I became obsessed with that, right? Because it was the high of like, I'm doing it. You know, I'm out there, I'm killing it.
And you were really successful at what you were doing.
Yes,
too.
I really was. And what ended up happening was I became so hyper-focused that I got tunnel vision and I lost focus on some other things that were really important, and which was my home life, my family life. I was working 6 days a week, sometimes 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. Sometimes I'd leave home at 7 o'clock in the morning and I wouldn't come home until 11 o'clock at night.
I like how you just said sometimes 40 hours a week. That was like at a minimum.
Yeah, my minimum was 40 hours a week.
Yeah, but it was like close to 60. You know?
And that went on for years, 4 years. Yeah. And to the point where, you know,
I said something to you.
Yeah, well, I think that it's important to point out that, you know, you saw that I was doing well and you allowed for me to kind of like step through and flourish and shine and live in the moment that I was living. But it got to the point where it was like problematic because I just was never home. And we argued a lot about it.
Yeah.
And you tried very hard to point out to me that there's a lot more to this relationship than me just working all the time and being a provider. And I really fought hard with I'm working, I'm not out there doing drugs, like what do you want me to do, da 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 da. And you know, that argument, I don't want to say you accepted it, but you tolerated it for a long time, until one day you literally looked me dead in my soul, and there was no argument this day. There was no anger. There was just silence within you. And you looked me dead in my face and you said, honey, I love you. I really do. And I think that what you're doing is great. But what's the love if you're not home? What's a home without a father to our children? And you really said, I don't need that in my life. I can do that by myself. And when
because I was already doing that before you came.
And when I tell you curtains called, lights came on, show was over.
Yeah.
That shit put the brakes on me. And it made me realize that there was a lot more to providing than just being a financial provider. And so in that moment, I then began to try to work on myself to provide other things that were valuable to the relationship that ended up allowing us to grow in a direction that only brought us closer, you know?
And that's why when I first looked at you to be my husband, I needed you to be compassionate. And I needed to know that you would love me.
Yeah.
And why that's important is because when I say these kind of things to you, you actually sit back and you're like, fuck, I actually need to work on this. Where there are many men out there that they lack this like emotional intelligence. They lack this compassion in them. They lack this like unconditional love for their partners. And when their partners are coming to them saying, hey, this is hurting me and this is hurting us, these men are not hearing that shit.
Yeah. I just want to point out that if you're in a relationship where you are the provider and your spouse or your significant other is giving you the space to flourish, understand that they're giving you that space to do that so that you fulfill your purpose. But that doesn't mean that you're fulfilling them. There's two sides to that coin. And I was blinded for a long time by my own success, not realizing that there was a whole other part of her that needed providing that I was unaware of.
Yo, you got me. You got my eyes watered right
now. So I want to put that as a bolt on to Steve's 3 Ps, especially the provide part, because as men, man, when we start doing it, shit, bro. You want to talk about, I can't describe it to you as a woman how on top of the world you feel. Yeah. I mean, I know because you were doing your own thing for a while without a man, and I can't imagine that was anything short of amazing for you.
Yeah.
But as a man, it's just different, right? We experience life differently because you're a woman and I'm a man. So there's no explanation that I can give you, but I just want to say to the men out there, understand that there is a lot more to it, and that don't lose sight and focus of what you need to be providing emotionally to your significant other. We
want that support, yo. And whew, that was deep, Ivo. Because honestly, like I was just listening to you and I was like, wow. You know, and listening to Steve Harvey, because I went looked into a little bit more about what he was saying, and on the flip side of that, Steve Harvey will say that women are more complex than men, and men are very simplistic, and that there are only really 3 things that men want from a woman.
Yeah, we're pretty simple,
right? I don't necessarily agree with this, but I'm going to tell you what Steve Harvey said. He said that men are looking for their women to, first and foremost, be loyal. But I think the loyalty for men is different than the type of loyalty that women are looking for men. I think women are literally looking for their men to literally be loyal to them, in the sense of they're not looking at other women at any given moment. When it comes to loyalty with men, I think men want to know that you belong to them. And I don't mean like as a piece of property, but like you are their woman, in the sense of like, they don't even want to know like what you've done in the past type shit. Where we're a little bit more accepting of that. Men just want this like undying loyalty, that you will stick by them no matter what. What's that saying? I want to ride or die, bitch. That's the difference that I think between men and women. Women just want men not to fucking cheat on them and to be loyal to them. Men want women to be loyal to them even when they're going out there and they're fucking up. I think that's the huge difference. So I think there's a difference in what men and women mean by loyalty.
I'm sure there's some truth to that. That's not my truth.
No, I know.
Definitely not my truth.
The term ride or die comes from the man world.
Oh, I like the term ride or die. And I feel that is important. It's an important dynamic for a man and a woman, or 2 people to have in a relationship. I
don't want to be a ride or die, bitch. I want to ride with you. I don't want to die for you.
Well, I think that saying can have many meanings depending on, who's saying it and what that actually means to you.
Yeah.
To some people, it may be like, literal death, like, you ride with me or you in a box.
Well, I also think that a lot of the men that are saying these type of things are the men out there that are not really being respectful, and they're not really truly being loyal to their women, and they want women to go with them through the mud. And women nowadays, especially nowadays, we not about that shit. We not here to be with a man while he's out there fucking around on all different levels in his career, not taking care of the home front, having other children, and we're gonna just be this ride or die. So that's why I think that there's a difference in loyalty. So the other thing is that Steve Harvey says that men want from women is that they want women to be supportive, which is crazy to me, because when I polled my friends and our audience, that was one of the biggest things that women wanted. Women wanted men to be supportive. So I think that there's definitely a common ground between men and women. We're both looking for that like support. So when Ivo started to step into that light of, he wanted to be the provider, and I knew that it was making him happy, I supported him in that journey. And it didn't diminish what I was doing in life, but sometimes it's hard to see that. And then the last thing that Steve Harvey says that men want from women, and he calls it the cookie, and aka a vagina, right? Sex. And I don't disagree with that. I don't think that a man is not entitled to look at his partner for intimacy, for sex. Because if you're together, then that's the person that you're looking for that to happen with, right? The only opposition that I have with the cookie is that when men are looking to receive that from their women, and that they're looking at it for that's what is going to make them happy. Like, they're not seeking their own happiness. They're looking at it like, sex makes me feel good. Sex is like how I seek happiness, and I'm going to seek that happiness through you. So it's almost like a guilt trip on the woman. I personally think that when it comes to sexual intimacy between partners, there should be, I don't want to say a balance of like how you're giving and receiving, but it should be like the two of you are at an understanding of like what this is doing for each other, in a sense of like, I want to do this with you because I'm so in love with you, I'm so attracted to you, and we're bonding this way. But I'm not looking to do this because when I walk away from this, I feel like a better person.
I mean, that's the woman's experience. You know, there's,
what do you mean?
Okay, you're saying that you feel like it should be this type of experience. You feel like that the dynamic in the relationship.
I said me.
Right, you, right? But
yeah,
you're saying
you said the woman's experience. I just want to make sure that, like, I'm not generalizing all women. I'm saying for me.
So your
I said that was my gripe,
right?
with sex.
Right, so that's your gripe with sex. You feel like that the experience and the relationship should, the actions of it should be based on that type of chemistry. Am I correct in saying that? The chemistry of, like, it's an experience.
I'm not sure if you follow me. Let me see if I could say it a little bit clearer. I don't think that men in a relationship should be seeking sex from their partner to make them feel good about themselves, or to feel good, or to feel happiness. I think men should be seeking to have sex with their partners because they're looking for a level of intimacy with their partner, and there's a joy between the two of them while that act is taking.
Why can't it be both?
Because then that puts a pressure on the woman.
So, but
to then have to give her man sex because that's what makes him happy.
Well, I mean,
I feel like it should be more of like an equal thing.
So, I want to say that as partners, you want to be tending to each other's needs across the board, for whatever they may be, emotional needs, financial needs, therapeutic needs,
intimacy
right?
needs.
Intimacy needs. But so if one person in the relationship has more needs than the other one, then the one that has the less needs, of course, is going to feel like that sex is too much. But what's left is the person who has the higher needs is left with a void. So when you have a relationship where you can only turn to one source to satisfy those needs, what's a person to do?
Well, what I said to you, Ivo, and that's why I think you're not following me. I do believe that there should be a balance. But what I said to you is that I think that there are times that men are looking to receive sex from their partner because that is how the man receives his personal happiness. And I don't think it should be the woman's responsibility to say, okay, I'm going to give you sex, or we're going to have sex because that's what makes you happy. I think that there should be a connection there.
Well, for a lot of men,
a lot of
men, there isn't that connection. Like there's,
and to me, that's problematic.
Well, I mean, it's definitely something that should be worked on through in the relationship. But to say that,
I totally agree. I totally agree with you that when a partner has needs, whether it be emotional, sexual, one of my biggest love languages, acts of service. You know, when there are these types of needs, your partner, and when you only have that one person in your life and you're looking for them to, satisfy these needs, I understand that. But there should be somewhat, in my opinion, you should strive for somewhat of a balance. it shouldn't be like, oh, because I have a higher sex drive than you and your sex drive is here, I expect you all the time to come up to here. Because your love language is acts of service, I expect you to always meet me where I want things. I don't think that that's fair.
You know, that's a slippery slope, Gina. It really is, because when it comes to sex, I know that it's more of a process for a woman. The whole experience of it, the journey of it from start to finish, and it's not that in depth for a man. You know, it's kind of like a short ride. You know, when it comes to just having sex, right? So like if if you're just looking to have sex, right? There's not many levels that a man has to go through from start to finish to reach climax, right?
Yeah.
But for a woman, there's like this journey that kind of like has to be done from start to finish. So I can see why you feel that way.
Yeah. That's why I said that I believe that there should be somewhat of a balance.
Yes.
That's my opinion.
All right. Well, you know.
Let's be real. Me and Ivo, we've had this conversation before.
Oh, yeah, of course we have.
Yeah, about, you know, about there being a balance in our intimacy and Ivo getting the cookie.
I mean, it's a good cookie. What do you want?
Okay. At that point, we're going to fucking end this conversation. No.
All right.
But that's just my thing. So I think I find it interesting that Steve Harvey says that, you know, for the most part, men are looking for women to be supportive, loyal, and, you know, looking for that sexual intimacy. The two first things, support and loyalty, that's what women are looking for too. Because for the most part, women can provide. You know, we can be part of the providing equation. We could be part of the protecting equation. I just saw a video on TikTok of a mother that her daughter was walking in the house and a raccoon just ran up on her kid. And when I tell you, the mother grabbed this raccoon barehanded by the back of the neck, and this raccoon was like the size of a small dog, and yeeted that motherfucker.
So she manhandled that
she
raccoon.
Yeeted that
when
fucking raccoon.
I tell you, she grabbed this raccoon by the scruff, and then she went to like jerk him.
Well, no, she held the raccoon while the daughter got inside the house. She made sure that her daughter was safe, and then yeeted this motherfucker.
No, but before she yeeted him, she like kind of like did this maneuver where like she re-gripped. She like repositioned her grip to yeet him. That was the dope part. She was like, nah, I don't got a good grip. I can't get the distance on this one. Let me reposition this fucking...
Yo, what's that thing like in the Olympus when they shot put? She shot put.
Yo, that fucking raccoon went flying.
So, and the professing part, I still think that like, if out of the three, I actually feel like that one's really important. Even though a lot of women nowadays are teaching themselves a lot of self-love that we weren't doing before. But anyway, that actually brings us to the end of the episode, because, you know, even want to get fucking X-rated and shit.
Sorry.
But like I always say, Ivo, I enjoy having this conversation with you. And if you enjoy being here with Ivo and I, which I know you people do that watch us and consume us, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, share us with your family and friends.
Please do.
I know that there are many of people that are consuming our content that are already doing that, because I could see it in our analytics that you are sharing us, and Spotify gave us a nice little roundup for the year that told us what we're doing. So we are greatly appreciative of that. One thing I do want to put out there, maybe I should have said this at the beginning of the episode. Next Friday is going to be our last Friday for 2022. And then we're taking a break for the holidays. Because
much needed break.
Yeah. So there's going to be 2 Fridays after next Friday, which is Friday the 16th will be our last Friday. And then the next 2 Fridays we're taking off for Christmas and for New Year's. And then we'll be back in fucking January. I think it's January 5th. Just want to put that out there. But until next Friday, ladies and gentlemen, peace out.
Peace out.